All right, I was only half right. Yes, I was partially wrong. Good morning, Kelly Nash. Welcome to the National Briefing. Okay, when this whole thing started with the Epstein file release or lack thereof, I said correctly the Trump administration has blown it. They did a horrible job overhyping and then under-delivering. That part is still correct. What was not correct is that there is some sort of conspiracy to cover up a bunch of stuff. Look, that became crystal clear to me yesterday as we saw this clown show that was being orchestrated by Thomas Massie, useful idiot from Kentucky, who's had a feud with the president now for many years. I don't know what started that feud. I remember specifically in 2020, he was trying to call for an in-person House vote during the height of COVID when, everybody said you have to be socially distanced and all that. And he was like, no, sir, we're gonna come in. I like libertarian philosophies. For some reason, I don't like libertarians. I don't know what it is about the libertarians. They just drive me nuts, but I like their philosophies. I just don't like them. I'm sure there are a few libertarians that I like. Anyway, let's get back to yesterday. Yesterday, everybody was excited to see the big press conference that Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna and the crew put together for you in D.C. and brought up all the victims. And one of the victims, a woman named Lisa Phillips, made headlines when she had this announcement.
And let me announce now, several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names.
Oh, this is big, right?
We know the names.
Okay.
Many of us were abused by them.
All right, so you're going to tell us.
Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world.
Did you hear what she just said? We will confidentially. That means you're not going to see that list. So that right there, that's a red flag. We're going to confidentially come up with a list, and we're going to share it amongst ourselves, is what she goes on to say. And that was cleaned up a little bit by the attorney that has been representing the victims for many years, a guy named Brad Edwards. And as he's making this announcement, Lisa is behind him, as are all the victims that were there for the press conference. They're all nodding in approval as he says this.
There's not a list. Yeah. So here's what it was. Just like you heard everybody today, Jeffrey Epstein created, through an organization of enablers, of people that were on his payroll. It was a complicated scheme where others should still be investigated because they helped to enable him and operate this scheme. Without those people, he could not have done this. But the purpose was for him to personally abuse people. With that being said, certain of his friends, he farmed out certain of the women that he was exploiting too. But that wasn't the primary purpose of that scheme. And I don't think he wrote the names of those people down.
So there is no list. Look, by the way, Brad Edwards, we'll get into this in just a second, has made a lot of dough for the ladies and for himself and would love to go after more high-profile individuals if he thought he could win. If he thought he had something there, he would be suing the pants off of these people. Now, to the useful idiot, Thomas Massie. He's holding up his phone, screaming about this is a heavily redacted document showing the people who used Jeffrey Epstein's plane and who came to Jeffrey Epstein's homes.
This is the flight logs. They're withholding who was on these planes. Like, this is a document that's publicly available. Go find it on their website. They are redacting things to prevent embarrassment. They're not redacting things to protect victims. And in the process of preventing embarrassment, they're hiding some criminals.
Embarrassment to the president?
No, embarrassment to rich and powerful individuals who are connected to the president. I don't think the president is redacted here. I don't think he's implicated in these files, but I think his donors are. I think his friends are. And I think our own DOJ and government are implicated in this, too.
Wow. So are you – it's frustrating because is he really an idiot or what is he doing here? Because you're upset that they've redacted the names of the people who visited Jeffrey Epstein and the flight logs that Jeffrey Epstein had where there were guests on his plane. Now, we do know several of the people like Bill Gates and Bill Clinton that were on those flights. And so all the names have been redacted because most common sense people would assume that taking a free jet ride does not make you a sex trafficker or an abuser. The overwhelming majority of people who took those flights were, hey, all right, yeah, I'm trying to do business with Jeffrey Epstein. This guy's a billionaire. I want to get in on it. And so, no, we're not going to release their names. Thomas Massey, what if, your name was on that list? Would you want it out there? You didn't do anything wrong, but then you have to spend the rest of your life denying it, denying that you did anything wrong. It's insane that he would say that. But then without even a sniff of a trail, there's no trail that leads back to the president's donors. How did you come up with that conclusion? And then you say our own government's in on it? Why would you say that? Do you think that Brad Edwards, the attorney, wouldn't have sniffed that out himself years ago when he was interviewing these victims? By the way, the thing that I think a lot of people forget, because this whole thing seems to have segued in the last few months from, and this is where I was, if there are rich and powerful people that are being protected, I want to know their names. Even if it was Donald Trump's name, I want to know who the abusers are. If they're being hidden just because they're rich and powerful, they shouldn't be. That's what MAGA is all about. But that is not what this has become. The argument is now segued into, don't we want justice for the victims? Okay, of course, everybody wants justice for the victims. I don't think most people know that in 2009, when Jeffrey Epstein was first arrested for this, he settled it silently, and we only found out about this later on from, what's her name? Virginia, I don't know how you say her last name, Giuffre, whatever. She's unfortunately has passed since then. But Virginia tried to then go after Prince Andrew, and Prince Andrew's attorneys then unsealed, I guess, part of the settlement that he had made at the time where Epstein paid $500,000 to each one of the victims that came forth. And Virginia Giuffre was one of them. Part of that settlement, though, said you can never go after anybody else ever again. So that's why Prince Andrew was saying, you can't go after me. It's already been handled. You already got your $500,000. Okay. After Epstein died, his estate paid out $150 million, or was it $125? $125 million after Epstein died. That went to the victims' funds, thanks to Brad Edwards. But Brad wasn't done. Brad went after the banks, and he got a massive settlement.
Banking giant JP Morgan Chase agreeing to pay nearly $300 million to victims of accused and now deceased sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein.
So when all is said and done, the Epstein victims have received about $500 million in payments. And the guy who was behind it all died in prison a very miserable death. Whether you think he killed himself or didn't kill himself, either way, it's a miserable death the way he went out. So that is as close to justice as you're ever going to get. According to the Department of Homeland Security, they estimate 27.6 million people are being trafficked worldwide. The vast, overwhelming majority of them will never see a nickel for what they've gone through, and they will not see the people who did it to them go to prison. Never mind die a brutal death. If we're talking about justice for the victims, if that's what this has become, they've already got it. If we're trying to find more people who were involved, okay, but according to Brad Edwards, there are no more people for the most part. There might be a few friends who helped Epstein hide this, but you're not going to find out any more abusers. This has become, as Donald Trump said, a complete hoax perpetrated by the Democrats to take your eyes off what making America great again is all about.